in the video game industry, and I was targeted by violent harassment. I remember this Christmas when I got my Nintendo Entertainment System. That became my world. My entire life, I've dreamed about being a game developer. When Super Mario 2 came out, it was 1988, and this was the first Mario game where you got to play as Princess Peach, and she was the most powerful character in that game. And I remember thinking, wow, this is great. From now on, the video game industry is going to represent women too. But we didn't keep changing, and we kind of got stuck there.
There are now more adult women playing video games than there are teenage boys.
Today, as I'm sitting here, women are in between 48 and 52% of gamers. We don't make games that women can really see themselves represented in as anything besides sex objects and damsels in distress. I realized that there was this need for women to see ourselves represented in video games, and I went and founded my own studio for it. If you had told me when I was 12 years old that this would be my profession, I would have thought my life would be a dream come true. But the truth is, the video game industry is a really incredibly difficult place for women to work.
As gaming goes increasingly mainstream, a darker side of the industry is emerging.
Now the women calling for change in this multi-billion-dollar virtual industry are facing a very real backlash, including death threats.
Much of the vitriol appears on Twitter hashtag Gamergate. It has grown into a loose movement associated with the worst of online harassment of women.
Gamergate is a group of online individuals, mostly men, that have banded together for one purpose: to harass women out of online gaming.
What was saddest about this is the men in our field were choosing to remain silent. So the only thing I knew to do was to use my own voice and start speaking out about that. I posted this meme on Twitter. I was trying to poke fun at how ridiculous the whole movement was and how the things they were trying to fight against were ridiculous. I had about 8,000 followers on my Twitter, and this was the tweet that ruined my life. Within minutes of posting that, Gamergate started countering this meme with thousands and thousands of their own, some of them threatening me with violence. It was things like Brianna Wu, talk shit, get hit. It was truly scary to see them targeting me like this. I closed my MacBook and I took a breath and I talked to my husband.
She came to me and asked me, well, what should I do? What should we do?
Are we willing to stand up for this? Are we willing to have our lives destroyed?
And we decided that it was worth it to stay in this fight.
And I came back and I told Gamergate that I wasn't going to go anywhere. And this is when they started to dox me.
Doxing is a process where an actor or actors try to expose a person, their name, age, date of birth, where they live, where they work, to embarrass a person, to shame a person.
And it's a method of psychological warfare where the object is to make someone feel scared for their own safety. Within seconds, Gamergate sent me this message saying, guess what? I know where you live. And they said, your dead, mutilated corpse is going to be on the front page of Jezebel tomorrow. If you have children, they're going to die too. You don't know how that's going to affect you until you're sitting there and you're fearing for your own life. It made me realize that I wasn't going to be safe living in my own home anymore. My husband and I took everything we had and we went and checked into a hotel.
While we were driving to the hotel, I was constantly looking in the rearview mirror to make sure that we weren't followed.
It was a really frustrating time because I would have to go to my house during the day to do my job. And then we would leave at night as soon as the sun went down. We would not feel safe in our own home. I had no idea your life could change this suddenly. And then things got worse. I had no idea your life could change this suddenly. You know, 1 minute I sent a tweet and 24 hours later, I had to leave my house. I thought that I was going to die. One time I looked at Twitter and there were 6 specific death threats for me. And we had to call the police and have them meet us at our home. And they came in and swept our entire house looking for people there to hurt us. And the police's response to me is to simply stay off my electronic devices.
The law generally finds itself in a state of catch-up to technology. As a result, law enforcement doesn't always have the tools or the best tools that we need in order to capture the kind of aggressive behavior that has become all too common on the internet.
We spent about a week and a half out of our house. And at a certain point, you can't live out of a hotel forever. So we switched over to this system where if the death threats I got that day were particularly terrible, we would leave and go stay at a friend's house. I was living my life where, depending on how many threats I got that day, it would determine where I would sleep at night. I would sit there and check my voice messages, and it was dozens and dozens and dozens of threats.
I'm coming to your house right now. I will slit your throat, you stupid little whore.
I was also getting video.
It's our high priest for the death omen on Brianna Wu's life, and we are going to finish the fight. We're going to deal with this vigilante style. When we go bloodthirsty on these fascists.
Gamergate targeted me because I decided to say, we are not going to quit. There was one day at my office, people start calling my phone, alerting me that this terrible man using an alias was threatening very, very specific violence to me. He claimed that he was there with an accomplice with guns in the car, driving to my house to kill me. And then moments later, this man himself sent me a very specific, terrifying video.
This is my car, and now the bitch shit is crashed.
He claimed he had crashed his car on the way to my house.
And look at this bullshit! Look at this shit! I'm just gonna raise your car and this person and this is all because violent and rest
He is just screaming like an absolute lunatic. It is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen, where he swears he's going to deliver justice to me in his own hands. It made me feel so helpless. One of the hardest things about being targeted with this kind of harassment is you constantly worry that people around you are targeting you.
We worry all the time about people following us. We worry about strange cars parking on our street.
Every single time someone comes up to me, I have to push past this fear that it's Gamergate, this coming to hurt me. You don't come back from something like this. You just change. And I'm not the same person I was a year ago. And I realized if I didn't speak up and bring this to the larger media's attention, nothing was going to be done. And they were going to murder me and my husband.
They attacked you personally.
They did. The goal was simple. It was to personally destroy the woman that was critiquing them. There have been no prosecutions. Not one person to even be brought to a court to answer these charges. I don't really ever feel safe anymore. But I don't think it's always going to be like this.
People like Brianna are increasingly turning to the possibility of new federal laws because the internet is not bounded by state borders. We need federal legislation for victims of cyber harassment.
Right now, the FBI does have one very strong lead that they're investigating. This would be the first case brought against someone in Gamergate that has been violently threatening to kill women. Because of the internet, my life as I knew it was over. But if I could go back in time, I would absolutely do this again. Most people don't realize that you were just one single click away from your life being upended.